Awesome. Episode 123 of the 580 Show. Myself, Dante Frawley, and special guest Andrew Clayton joining us on the show again. What's up?
What's up?
So we let you do your media tour after your big win, and then you figured you'd come back to your favorite podcast. So
Right,
we'll,
right,
we'll, we'll
right.
talk about everything here. But no, seriously, appreciate you joining us again. Appreciate your time. Um, I guess let's go right into like obviously Clash first, I guess. Coming off your big win. I guess kind of just how was the experience at Clash versus other big shows? Because you've been to every show, small, big, and everything in between in your strongman career, if you want to call it that. And it's been long. And how was Clash this year, I guess?
Well, it gets Clash has gotten a lot of so it's first year being there, so it's the third year. It's gotten a lot of hype. And I think unfortunately the hype didn't live up to what I had heard. I mean, it's still a strongman, it's still strongman, right? It's still in a parking lot or in a venue that's maybe not ideal. But I'll say that the production from Tyler's standpoint was great. I thought it was the most professionally run as far as like the judges and him being like unbiased and him being like clear cut on what we're doing. And obviously it's on ESPN, so like they have to have time frames, but it's still at a random resort or random city. It's just not. It's just hyped up like anything else. OSG is in a convention center in Daytona, and like no one knows about it except people that are going there. So it's one of those things where the expectation over 3 years have been compounded. And I was like getting nervous. Oh my God, am I going to be able to perform when I got to go every 10 minutes? And oh no, it's going to be so hard. It's so hot out there. And everybody's like making shit up. And it's like, dude, it's a freaking strongman show. Like I felt no different. I mean, maybe a little bit longer between events, I did a little better. But I mean, there were guys that were training conditioning like every freaking day of the week. And I almost did nothing extra. And I felt exactly the same as OSG. So I don't know. A little bit too much hype. A little bit too much hype.
I thought from a viewer standpoint, I think we talked about it in the pod a little bit. So the first, like, what was it for probably the first half hour
Yeah, we couldn't see
it
anything.
was rough. The first like half hour to an hour. And then they dialed it in. I don't know what it is with Strongman and live streams, but we can never, ever
start off.
Like you just can't get it right to start. But it was the first time. I can't remember who live streamed it this year.
A1.
A1
Digital. Yeah.
And man, I thought they did a fantastic job once they got rolling. Like
once they got it running, I agree.
And it was interesting because I liked the way they ran it. So it'd be like, okay, Andrew, your group was doing the deadlifts. And then while they were resetting your deadlifts, they would go cut to the other group. So it was kind of like when you watch a strongman live stream, there's a lot of downtime, right? And that kind of fought the downtime, which was really
just need to have more graphics on the screen because that was the hard part. Is like even watching it. So I couldn't watch back day one because I don't think it's even been put up to rewatch yet, which is kind of annoying because I want to watch my performance, see what I did wrong. Yeah. But no, I mean, there left some to be desired on that, and the commentary, like it's just, I don't know. Yeah. I'm very skeptical of some of that. Not skeptical. I'm very critical of some of that stuff, but it's also tough because like OSG did such a great job with their filming, and like I'm not saying you should bias yourself to an athlete, but like they kind of knew in each heat who was going to perform well, and they had that camera angle set up. And this time there were one or two events where like I won, and like you don't even see me win because I'm off camera because they're filming the other guy, and it's like I get it, like that happens, but imagine if that happened World's Strongest Man, and you're like, oh, I missed the rep that he got to beat the other guy. Like it's just, I don't know, it's just interesting.
Yeah, the biggest criticism I have with the majority of live streams for strongman is that they don't have updated scoreboards.
Yep.
Like you watch a game, like imagine watching the Masters for golf and they just never share the score, and it's just like that's literally what Clash was. I'm sitting there and I'm like, we're me, Frawley, and Dante, every show that we watch, we always somehow we have this group chat and we talk about it, and we're like, I think Andrew's doing really well, but like I don't know. I mean, he's doing his, like, I
knew the points only I think 2 or 3 times out of the 5 events I knew the points.
Oh really?
Like I literally didn't even know the points, like just knowing like almost intuitively like what you need to do to win a show. You need to average like second or third place, or probably third place of Clash, right? Because like I won with 49 or something. So it's 5 events times where they allowed 12 this year. So it's 60. So it'd be 10 times. Yeah. So I need to average third place. So I can do that math in my head fast enough. Every place I'm not in first, I need to, get it back on the next one. But yeah, I saw the score sheet handwritten like twice. And then obviously the first event I was in the lead. So I knew I was in the lead. But that's pretty much it. It was on a piece of paper. I'm like, and it wasn't like me looking at the piece of paper and like count, oh, I need to do this. I need to do that. And it was like, oh, I'm 2.5 behind. Shit, better get to work.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because every person that I talk to, like when I tell them I'm coached by you, or we're just talking about you, or a big show comes up that you're at, every single person has the same comments to me. And it's like, have you ever seen Andrew Clayton at a show and how prepared he is? That is the one thing that everyone talks about. Like I remember Nick Hine had like a culture shock. Like he had a real like wake up call when we talked to him. It's like, I didn't think you could be this prepared as a human. He's talking about how you have like 9 pairs of shoes, 10 pairs of gloves, every single thing. And I think that's really interesting. And I can see it.
He's a great competitor because he did that. Some people can get mad at me because I'm too prepared. Like, oh, look at this guy bringing his suitcase. But like Nick, I either gave him tape to tape his glove, or I think Dan gave him tape, but I offered him a glove or offered him something. But like, you want to learn from other people. So like he's messaged me and stuff. And I find that it validates me a little bit, but like, that's what you need to do. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be a jerk to someone who like honestly respects me coming in prepared, but sometimes there's like a thing like, oh, he's taking a whole table with his equipment. It's like, yeah, because I know one, actually, I don't know what's going to go down because I haven't been to Clash. And then 2, it's freaking strongman in a parking lot. It could rain, like heck, if I had a broom in my suitcase, I would have swept off the course before the freaking tire flip. You actually saw me run out there and kick stuff out of the way. I mean, Brian Shaw does the same crap. This is the reason why he's got 4, possibly 5 titles. But yeah, I brought an extra pair of shoes, thank God, because I ripped the eyelets out of my shoes after warming up. I go to tighten them up, and I'm like, oh shoot! So I had to get my gold shoes that I was going to wear just for the finals. I was like, man, better win now. But yeah, like I try to come prepared. I offer people stuff. I bring extra things I haven't even worn just in case, things go awry. And I think that's what you should do. It's a professional sport. It's just we're not compensated like an NFL football player or Tiger Woods or, whatever other athletes in sports and stuff.
100%. And I definitely I know I want to talk about your coaching on here because I've mentioned multiple times so far. I've been coached by you for, I think, 2 years now, almost. And, I think that preparation as an athlete, because you're weird because you're 30.
yeah.
And you have been in strongman for.
He gets an AMRAP tomorrow. He
right. No kid.
Well, it's just crazy because there's not many people like you. I don't know if there's anyone like you that is just 30 years old and has been in strongman for literally half their life. When I talked to Mike Bardos last time, I went to go pick up Rex. He's like, Andrew Clayton has been doing strongman for half his life, and soon to be over half his life. So it's all he knows. Like, people start when they're 30s, 40s, even 50s.
Right.
You've been doing this since what, 15, 16 years old?
Yeah, I started doing like Zercher carries and yoke walks and shoot. I think I did like 1,000-pound like just pick of a barbell off pins in the rack at like 14 or 15 years old. So it's just been a lot of like weird strongman stuff. I didn't compete till I was 16, but I definitely had homemade farmers and homemade. I'm trying to think what else I had homemade. Then homemade yoke by like 15. So yeah, it's over half my life. And when you're thinking about guys like that, some of the strongmen you don't think about is like everybody was mad at Kielakowski for not doing as well at World's Strongest Man, but like, he's been doing it for a long time. He's been doing it about as long as me. He's a little younger than me, but like, he won Poland's Strongest Man, I think like 3 times before he went pro, went to the Arnold. So people are like, wow, why is he not performing well? It's like, dude, he has so many like miles on him already. Just because he's 29 or 30 years old does not mean he's, not feeling the sport,
Right.
So, and that's why guys can come in and Mitch Hooper is blowing it up, but he's fresh. He's got fresh wheels, fresh shocks, fresh everything. And they're like, wow, he's a stud. But like, that's when Mateusz Kielakowski was when he came in and he blew up. And then slowly those things wore out. And I think that's kind of like me too, is like, I have more of that experience of like what happens when you start to wear out in the sport, how to change, how you go about things and learning all those mistakes I made of how to correct them. So like, I'm not training as hard as some of my competitors because I know some things are just like frivolous to do. Like, why do I need to do 10 sets of that? I can do one set perfect, and I don't really need to get stronger anymore as a 105. I just need to like not make mistakes. It sounds really cocky to say that, but in most events, I just need to not get worse as a 105 because the class rotates and it rotates through people so much that we're not really pushing the ceiling of like moving events and loading events. We're pushing the ceiling of like static events.
Mhm.
So, are you officially retired as a 105? Are you retired? What's like?
Are you
What's
retired for good?
Oh, I'm retired from doing a full show in 105. I don't want anything to do with that nonsense. And I say nonsense because, I mean, to have the two biggest shows not allow me to be invited and everybody being like it's an entitlement thing. But then I go win both those shows and I win, 9 of the 12 events. And I got 1 second. And one of them I got a last because I got hurt. I mean, I don't know. I just think that's kind of silly. So I put down in my notes, probably the hardest thing is like doing a sport that you love and having to jump through other people's hoops. And that's kind of what it is. It's like, I enjoyed training all the teenagers because I wasn't training for anything. It was like, oh, it's Sunday. Let me go carry 400 pounds in my arms down my driveway, turn around and come back and try to get back in the rack before it falls out of my arms. And that was fun. And then the next week I'll try 440 or whatever, or every other week or whatever. And then now it's like, oh, let's do this weird medley with a yoke to 3 kegs. I gotta go buy 3 kegs. I gotta go fill them with gravel and concrete. It's just like a lot of work to do something I don't really find enjoyable. And then I go there and it's an event that's very easy, or it gets changed to be like 30% lighter. And that's just frustrating to like spend your recovery ability, your time, your effort, your money, and then be like, why? So I just don't want to jump through hoops. And so hopefully I'll be able to like do less qualifiers or do local shows and not have to go through as much hassle. But I don't see myself competing against the 105s at a high level. And the money is not there anymore. It was said it was going to be at 10 grand the first year of Clash. Spoiler alert, it wasn't 10 grand for me. So it's not going to motivate me to come out of retirement again it would need to be like 20 or 30 grand for me to do that crap again. It's just not worth it to me.
So retired from 105s, full shows, super heavy, open, full shows?
I haven't even really given thought to it. I mean,
yeah.
It'd be nice to come back. I feel like, I'm saying this about, it's not a comeback. Don't call it a comeback, all that kind of stuff. I need to do one lifetime PR thing as a heavyweight, I think, to just like validate that I came back and was like better than I was. I do think I am, like, as far as like there are some movements that knowing how I progress gaining body weight or peaking for a heavier show, how I would do. But until I like put that together on in actual, what's the word I'm looking for, in a contest or like prove it, I haven't really come back in my mind.
Yeah.
But it's hard to compare, right? Because I was 330 when I got hurt. At 330 pounds. I'm 260 this morning, so I'm a little bloated. But like, it's not really fair to compare those two body weights. But like, if I got back up to 300 pounds and I was able to do stuff I was doing at 330, then I would say, hey, I'm healthier. I'm able to do it still. It's been 3+ years. Okay, I came back. I accomplished the goal.
Do you want to take the time to go up to 300 pounds again, though? I mean, that's a whole different quality of life problem, right? Like, it's a whole different game.
Well, actually, what happened is the 105s that kept talking so much on some podcast about me needing to come back to OSG and didn't show up. I was at 290 when I watched OSG in 2021. And between watching OSG at 2021 to be on a podcast in April, either March or April of the next year, I was like, man, I have got to run it back again on 105. Like, I literally had so the podcast I did with Anthony Furman and Nick Camby, when they asked me if I'm going to do OSG, I say, no, I don't think so. In my bathroom, on the mirror, I had 105 World Strongest Man written on it. I already knew what I was going to do. I was waiting to do it. So I got up to 290 with abs, and I had to waste that pretty physique to come back and weigh in at 231. I mean, what the heck? But no, I think I can get to 300 fairly lean.
Sure.
330, different story, but I bulked too quick when I did that. I was 295. I think 3 months out from getting hurt, and I was feeling really, really good. I was moving fine. I was recovering good. I had won USS Nationals the year prior at like 285 or 290. So I feel pretty comfortable just under 300 pounds.
Sure.
It's over like 315 that I start to feel, like crap. And then of course you get bloated for a contest and it's heavy events. You like start to feel really bad, but yeah, it's a risk reward thing that people don't, everybody sees it as like, oh, you did 105, now you're gonna do heavyweights. It's like, no one ever thinks like that could be a 3-year process. What am I doing in 3 years? Where's my life going to be? How much money does that cost? Is it worth putting on hold a family or having kids or like a business? Like no one ever looks at those things. It's like 3 years at 30 to 33 years old is a pretty critical part of your life. And so it's a pretty interesting thing when people just jump to the conclusion, oh, he's going to heavyweight. It's like, really? I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know.
Well, yeah, like that was definitely the most asked question on like the Q&A. So the two things were, is Andrew going to go to heavyweight?
Right.
And how would you have stacked up at World's Strongest Man prelims this week? Like I know it's frustrating questions. I know it's,
I've already seen the numbers, so I already kind of figured it out.
How would you have done?
How heavy was the log ladder? That one I don't remember what the weights were.
I don't know, fan. Producer Dante,
I have
you
it
think
up
you can
right
pull
here.
that up?
Dante, you have it?
So it's five logs. I'm thinking it's every 10 kilos or 15 kilos. So it's probably like 180 or 190 at the end. So maybe like 190, 170, 150, but then it'd be 130. Yeah. So it's probably like 185, maybe 185, 170, 165, 150. Yeah.
I think I have it. It's 275, 310, 350, 375, 400.
That sounds about right.
Oh, there's only 400. Only 400 at the end. This year, like just coming off Clash, probably still not. I mean, in some of the heats, I might have gone fifth, but I don't think I get higher than fourth. Like that's just. I mean, I already know. I'm pretty confident I'd be fifth. I'm gonna get low on the deadlift. I'm gonna get low on the log. I'll probably do well on the loading. Probably do well on the Conans. On the toss, I'm a little taller than some of the guys that got towards the bottom of the pack. Like. This is not me talking bad about Paul Smith because I love him. I talk to him all the time. But wherever Paul Smith stacks up, I'm not going to be much higher than him because like he's better at like a good number of the events and the things I'm better at, he's not. So like we're going to balance out.
I see.
So I'm not going to be higher than Paul Smith, and so he got I think fifth in his group, and he's already freaking training legs today. He told me. I was like, really?
That's crazy.
So
I think what are you guys' thoughts? Is general conversation like with World's Strongest Man? There's so much invested in stones. And Andrew, you've been in the game for a long time. Like, do you guys think it's fair that like a guy can strategically kind of sandbag middle of the pack, stay healthy, and say Tom Stoltman, for example, didn't even win his group. He's not going to lose stones unless he goes against Trey Mitchell, right? And they're not going to put those two in the same group anymore. Right. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Like, there's so much value in stones at World's Strongest Man. I mean, I guess you can just say, hey, train stones, it's going to be like that.
Right.
But like, what do you like? It seems like it's here to stay and it's not going to go away. What's your thoughts on that?
Wait, do I have to talk first?
You guys all. I mean, don't you? I don't really
I want to
care
hear what you have to say. They hear me every week.
I think it's strongman. I think it is a very strongman event. I don't like that Bobby Bobby was like fifth overall when they put all the points together, and he doesn't make the finals. That's tough. It is a weakness of his. He knows it. He's been improving on it. I thought he was in the best shape he's ever been in when I saw him at Clash. But strongman is loading. It is moving and carrying weight, and stone lifting is very similar to a load and a carry and load. I mean, like the top three people, if they put all the groups together, were the top three in the medley. So like there's a correlation with like being able to move and do odd object things. So I like that. I just don't like that it always ends on stones. If they rotate stones in the middle, I could see that being beneficial. That being said, if stones are going to be a priority, which we know, Clash is the same thing, right? Like, we're going to end on stones, and if you can beat out some guys, you could jump some places, but guys will still prioritize deadlift. And I was telling a client, he's trying to work on stones. I don't even remember what client it is now, But I said, it's typical. It's at the end of your training session because you have to put tacky on, you got to clean up. But when you think about it, we should really start pushing that towards the beginning. So I'm experimenting with one of my clients of like doing some sandbag rows to warm up, doing some unilateral stuff that's kind of light and, easy stuff to do, and then do stones and then do accessory. Because there are times that we just prioritize deadlift and log and like those static standardized events. And then at the end of our session, when we're tired, we do stones. And a bodybuilder that does that for arms never has the best arms. If you put arms at the end of your chest day and you do chest, shoulders, triceps, your triceps are not the best. So why are we doing that in strongman where guys are like, I'll do like a set of stones, but they'll do 5 sets of one variation deadlifts, and then they'll do like 5 sets of rows, and they're like, what are my stones suck? So yeah. I think get better at them, and they're here to stay. And worst case, they don't come back, and you spend a whole year prioritizing them. I guarantee you're still better at loading and carrying. Log cleans will be easier. Keg toss might be easier. You're going to open up the anterior chain to be able to lean back into extension. I mean, you're not going to like, other than a bicep tear or that type of stress, it's not going to hurt you that much. The other way around hurts you more is like getting freaking last on the stone off, or losing the stone off, and then you did 4 events for nothing. So
yeah.
I just hate that. I hate that it comes down to the stones every year. Like you said, if it rotates, at least that point, like, okay, now our tiebreaker, I don't know, for example, is the kettlebell toss, right? Like it gives somebody a chance. Whereas if you're Tom Stoltman and you're in a stone off, you're not going to lose.
Yeah.
Right. Trey Mitchell, you're probably not going to lose in a stone off. And that's no disrespect to those guys. They've taken the time to get good at those events. Right. But it's almost like lopsided in their favor that if they hit the stone off, like, yeah, they're in the finals. You might as well just count it. So that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, my only gripe too is like if you look at the scoreboard, you can be 5-6 points behind second place.
Yeah.
Which, is the difference of 0 and then still sneak in.
Sure.
I looked at the scores today. I think almost like the big point differentials, like the higher person still got in stones.
Yeah.
But like, they have an issue with their tacky or something. They lose their trip to the World's Strongest Man finals and they were 6 points above the person. So that's
just don't do the stone off then. Like just have it be scored normally and have everybody do the stone. And that's also good for them scouting athletes because then we know who to bring.
That's a good
because we only get to see 2 people per heat. And for all we know, those newbies, I'm calling them newbies because they are, but like they're all great athletes. I've already said that every one of those athletes is good. You don't know if they're good at stones. And Giants Live and World's Strongest Man doesn't want a dude showing up to a show where they got a medley on stones where it's fast and it's crowd pleasing and they like do 2 stones. Right. That would be a terrible show for everybody. So I say have everybody do it. How hard is it to reset stones?
Sure.
Right. That's a good point. I kind of like I'll call it the Clash format. I don't know if they're the ones that actually invented it or not, but like with that stone rotation where everyone comes through and it's kind of like back and forth. I mean, Andrew, you've done that twice now, right? Because you did it in the regionals or whatever they call it and the finals. What are your
qualifier,
thoughts?
Josh? Yeah, qualifier. I have to qualify.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on like that format of stones?
So I'm probably going to misremember it, so I don't want to be quoted on it. I think so. I know Tyler changed the rules a little bit because initially it was you had a certain amount of time to lap it, and you couldn't reattempt the lap once it broke the ground, and then you had another amount of time to put it over. That was a qualifier. And then for this clash, if I remember correctly, you had a total amount of time to load it, which is how you should have it.
Because, I agree with that.
Because I trained it to where every pick I would get in my lap, but there's one pick I did in my last training session that I bobbled, and I remember thinking, shoot, like that could be me losing the event. So I did practice like getting a little more under the stone, but that would suck because that's not like indicative of who's a good stone loader. You just made a small mistake, and I could just make that up on a faster extension. What I don't like about it is the time is not consistent, which does play to some athletes' advantage. I'll talk about in a second. But also, when you're in the lead, if you have to do more reps, you have no person to go against. And in some ways, that means you get more time, but you also have no motivation. We're all motivated by other people. I don't want to, when you're going against someone, you're motivated. And that being said, I was able to use it to my advantage because if you watch Clash back, what I did was if the guy was pacing, I would pace. And then the second that they started getting tired or losing their extensions, I jumped on the stone and I tried to pop it right over. And I want to apologize to Dan on the podcast because it looks like I threw the stone at him. I did not.
I saw that.
I extend so high when I load stones, it would be so high over the bar So I tried to cut my extension and push. And if it was a platform, I would stop it myself and it would go into the hole. So it's really just me ensuring the stone goes over. But I'm also like one of the tallest and one of the best stone loaders. So it's like that was the only way I could load the stone and guarantee I don't miss. And if you want to make a rule about that, I feel like as long as the stone doesn't go off the mat, or like you got to make some other rule. It can't be like don't intentionally push, because you should be finishing your stone loads underneath or pulling all the way up to your chin and then having your chest or abs touch the bar and then drop. So I didn't mean to push at him, but yeah, that's what I did. Is I waited for McKeegan and for Dan to kind of have that slower extension rep, and then next rep I was like, I gotta do this one in 3 seconds, 5 seconds, and just get it back over to him.
Yeah.
So that is cool. It is a crowd pleaser. I wish I knew the reps as we were going. It's very hard to strategize and know how you need to win. But it gets through people. I say run the people through again, man. I say give them half points the second time through. That would be fucking fun.
That's cool.
Like just half points.
There was that guy at was he at the Rockies one? What qualifier was he at he did like 30 something?
He was in Nashville because they didn't have the ADL live. And I don't know him. It's very impressive. I'll put two caveats to that. One, he didn't do very well in the other events, so he had energy.
Yeah.
And two, we all know that stones don't get weighed. And
we talked about that 2 weeks ago, yeah.
The stone is between 300 and 350 is all going to be 20-inch stones. So no offense, but I know that's capable because I've done a 330 stone for like freaking 30 reps. And I did a 365 for 16 reps. And I stopped early. That was my last session. So, I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like it's impressive, but winning the show is the most impressive. I mean, great job to him to keep going. Yeah. Like that's what you need to do.
Jake Hare. Yeah, he was super nice. He actually reached out to us after we shot him out on the pod. He was like such a nice guy.
He said he was mad about his performance, so he's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna load this stone so many times.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's what that.
Yeah, he straight up like owned it when he DM'd us. It was super cool.
Yeah,
he was like, he was like the nicest. Like Midwestern people are always like so nice. He's Midwestern, and he was just telling me how much he appreciated his name on the pod. So
yeah,
that was.
I'm not knocking him at all. I mean, I think he's great. Yeah. I just like there are some caveats, but that is much respect going out there on the last event. So many guys go out there and they can't move up or down, and they're just like, whatever, I'm just gonna touch the stone. So I mean that's what a champion does. That's what a champion does. So
I was actually, since we're on the topic of stones, I was thinking about this today. I'm curious your guys' thoughts again, but like it's natural for like younger people and less experienced people, newbies in strongman, to like look up to like Tom Stoltman and like all these guys, like World's Strongest Man finalists, Brian Shaw and stuff. And I was watching the Stone Offs today, and I see so many like lightweight teens and novice people that are like, 5'9", and they're watching Tom Stoltman and they're trying to replicate his form with stones. And I think that's like such a mistake in strongman because you're never going to load a stone. Like Tom Stoltman's what, like 6'8"?
Yeah.
So if you actually watch his stone load, it looks lazy. Like if I did that, if I did that, because I'm 5'8" and a quarter, I would literally hit the bottom of like the yoke. Like I wouldn't even be, you know what I mean? Because when he's loading it, dude, it's like not even at his belly button.
He doesn't even do so I can't remember if it was on, I'm pretty sure it was on a stone off. I don't remember if he did it for the first two. Like the second or the third stone, he won motion. And I thought that was kind of like a, in your face type thing. But like, why would you change your form? You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to miss. It's a stone off, right?
Right.
But he's just so confident. But yeah, if you watch most of his stone, his hands are they're very low, and he only has to do this. And again, like I said on my stone, like I know when I train, and being trained by me, I put 2 to 4 inches above contest height, so many times, because I never want one of my athletes banging the bottom of the yoke and be like, oh yeah, I would have had it, but no, you're gonna make it.
Yeah, I watched one of his loads in particular. I don't know how many he had to do, but I just saw a highlight of it, and I was like, man, it looked like he almost missed, because it was so like, it just shows like, I mean, he's a freak, but like I have some younger kids, and it's like, just don't keep in mind, you're not younger kids that are listening. It just popped in my head today, So
Ortmeyer kind of used to load the stones kind of more by his hips too, but he had a lot more roll up his body. I think Tom kind of like his power belly and like where he positions the stone is a little different. And he's also taller than Ortmeyer. So I think where they start the stone is very similar. It's just Ortmeyer would finish it and end in an extension, like going all out leaning back. And Tom's like, oh yeah, it's there. And just kind of puts it on the stone on the platform.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say about your victory at Clash, and I just remember this. I wrote it down today to talk about. I share our personal conversations, not everything from it, but I remember. So it was probably, I'm trying to think when this would have been. Probably wintertime. We were on the phone and we had a long conversation about coaching and every like upcoming stuff. And you just told me straight up on the phone, like, hey, don't tell anyone this, but I'm gonna go win Clash in a couple months. And it was just like so like the way you said it was like so confident. And I remember on the pod I think I was talking to Andrew Haynes or someone, and we were talking about predictions for Clash. I'm like, oh, Andrew will win, and it was just like ingrained in like my brain because you said it so confidently and like believed in yourself. I just thought that was like such a special thing to like look back on now because you were just like, yeah, dude, you're pissed off, and you're like, hey, man, don't tell anyone, but I'm gonna go win this. It's just funny how you worded it, you know. Like I thought that was awesome.
Well, I think the story of how to build Clash Up was like no one knew if I was going to go do it or not. And I think that like makes it more scary. I think one of the things, you know, I already mentioned in my Instagram post, you talked to Anthony about it, you know, the MJ mentality. But one of the things that made him great was like no one knew what he did in his off time. You know, he was just like he played basketball and then like he played golf and then like what he do? It's mysterious. So just like never letting people know like what's going on. Like I wanted to hire a PT to help with like some hip rehab and some shoulder rehab. And I found out that one of the PTs I was going to hire, one of the other athletes they had was at Clash. I'm like, can't do it. Because I don't want anybody to know. I don't want anybody to know. I train by myself, all that kind of stuff. And even like when I got hurt at Clash, I didn't want anybody to know. Like it's just don't tell anyone. And they almost build up the whoever I am in their head worse than I actually am.
Yeah.
Like it defeats them, man. When you're a mystery, like we've all been against, like we've all heard a guy like on the internet, and we have to go compete against them, and they have like one or two good lifts, and we like soak that in for like months before the competition. Like, oh my god, did you see his 800-pound deadlift for 3? Oh no! And then we go there, and he's a normal dude. He's got a good deadlift, but we've already beat ourselves because he's supposed to be this great, you know, athlete or whatever. So I just let people kind of beat themselves. It was a very interesting watching the sports psychology aspect because probably about a third of the guys in the finals, they have the mentality to be able to handle someone who's a jerk like me, or I don't know how many words I want to say in the podcast, but a person who's a jerk like me. But some of the other guys, it was very difficult for them to handle my mannerisms and my persona when I'm an athlete because I was very much in their face. And if someone asked me a question, like somebody in the rules meeting asked me a question while I was getting a chair at the table for my girlfriend. He said, "Why are you getting a chair?" I said, "Oh, it's for my trophy." We haven't even started the contest yet. I was like, "It's for my trophy." So like just those kind of things, like when somebody says it like that quick, you're like, "Oh shit!" Like he's already in it, man. You know. So
Yeah.
I wish I was Mike. Man, you think that stream was entertaining? You should have heard the stuff I said if I was Mike. Freaking Johnny in my heat was a great competitor. I'm gonna give him kudos. Like great competitor. Like he tried to beat me and everything. He asked to borrow my nose. Jersey. Yeah. I've been talking to him. I mean, he has a lot of potential. He's only been doing it for a couple of years or a year and a half or something. So he has to use my nose torque. So my brother hands him my nose torque. This nose torque is like a year and a half old. So he like puts his whole nose into it because like it's weak. He's like, dude, this is weak. And I paused for a second and I hit his chest. I said, "Strength is inside," or something like that. It's so freaking funny because I'm like fully focused and I like pause. I'm like, "The strength is inside you," and he just like, "What the heck?"
That's funny.
I can't remember what podcast I heard you talking about it because like when you're on, I generally try to tune in. And it might have been World's Strongest Opinions, and you were talking about like some of the gamesmanship that you were doing, and I was just chuckling the whole time about you explaining it. And I was just like man, that, like, because not only do you do all that stuff, but then you're the guy that carries like a freaking sack of equipment with you, right? And have all the other things. So
I mean, I have my brother and his brother. You know, they're both fairly big people. They're loud. I mean, I said a World's Strongest Opinions. Like my brother, my older brother Phil, is like literally yelling to me with 3 competitors around me at the table. They're all scared of you. They can't beat you. I'm like, Phil, you need to be quiet, man. But no, like all that stuff, like it's funny. Like some of the stuff is like kind of planned. Like I kind of think like, hey, we need to walk in there like we own the building. And I give them a little pep talk. This is how we need to walk when we're walking around the hotel. And there's other things that just aren't planned, man. It's just genuine us being us, and it's just being really confident. I mean, my brother's seen me win shows before, so in his mind, I'm winning everything. And that's not how reality is. I've lost plenty of times, but when you walk in with that type of confidence and people that are very confident in you, like, I mean, I told my girlfriend I was going to win, and that's the only thing she thought of. So, like, for me not to win would have been basically like, breaking her heart in the sense I've been telling her for like months, hey, I'm going to win this. And then we're going to go on the beach and smoke cigars and chill. So,
Yeah. Promises made, promises delivered. But so let's talk about you as a coach versus we just talked about the athletic side, and
yeah.
let's talk about your coaching. I know you enjoy it. I know you are like full bore. You are 100% into it. Like, I get a lot of questions a lot of time. How much does Andrew charge? What do you like about his programming? Like all that stuff. And the biggest thing that I always tell people, I've said it on this podcast, I've said it to you, I've said to Frawley and Dante, is the attention to detail and how you treat every single client the same from what I've seen. Like, doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing, like, all walks of life, right? The dad that just got into it and is going to do a novice show versus the guys that have been doing it for a long time and are going to compete at the bigger shows, and just how detailed you are. So, do you want to talk about coaching and like how you approach it and everything like that?
I think it should be said that while I'm talking like, being a jerk and all this kind of stuff, being an athlete, stuff like that's a persona. Like you have different facets of one person. So like how I act when I'm competing is not me all the time. And I think that's one of the problems with me marketing myself as a coach. Because some people think that's how I coach. And I think I'm very much different when I coach or when I'm around people when when I'm not competing. So when it comes to coaching, I'm trying to meet people where they're at, So everybody's got different goals. Most of the people I work with are still never going to, this sounds cocky, like they're not going to get to the level I'm at. So I can't use the same strategies, but I want everybody to be treated the same. And I think I learned a lot from, I worked under Mike Westerling, and he was always very attentive. Like if I texted him, if I messaged him, he changed programs. So I'm like, okay, if Mike is who I came from, I need to do that. I need to find ways that I can either improve upon what he's doing or I don't like the word advanced, but like, he's older and does things without an app and things like that. So like, how can I do it a little bit better? Or how can I improve the service? How can I serve the customer? And the problem I see with professional athletes is they think of their clients as like just money in their pocket to like fund their dream. And like, don't get me wrong, like having clients funds the fact I can train at home. And I don't forget that because like every meal I eat is funded by my clients paying me money. But that being said, like they're the customer. So if a client says, hey, Andrew, like I don't like what you're doing. I don't like this split. I don't like this layout. It's not conducive to my lifestyle. It's too long of a workout. I'm not going to be like, well, I'm the professional. You do it this way. No, I'm like, okay, tell me how we can work around, and I'm going to make it as optimal as I can based on the parameters that you give me. And then when it comes to feedback, like I'm going to watch their videos. And if you put videos in, if you put notes, you create a dialogue, it creates like a story. And I just kind of like help you write that story of training. And I'm trying to think of some big lessons I've learned in coaching. I've probably learned obviously more about people, but also I've learned more about like exercise interaction, like how things overlap, because my clients do it before I do. So like you guys are doing events that are very common, like sandbag the shoulder and like, there's arm over arms. That's a unilateral event, is twisting. So like understanding how those two events interact in a training cycle benefits me as an athlete. So my experience as an athlete benefits my clients and my clients benefits me. So it's just I know I'm going off all these tangents because I'm probably just really crazy right now, but it blows my mind that there are coaches out there that complain about their clients, because at the very core of it, my clients are helping me and I want to do whatever I can to help them. And whether it's imposter syndrome or having worked with coaches that were not very attentive, but I never want anyone to say, oh yeah, I work with Andrew Clayton, but then he just like started ghosting me and ignoring my messages, or he started copying and pasting my program. Like, go ahead and try to find a copy and paste. Like, freaking try. Like, you're not going to find it. And there's been a handful of times I've missed messages, which are usually like an app error, that I haven't responded in like more than a day or two. Like, I try very, very hard to do what I want as an athlete. So
yeah, I think so. that was something I wanted to touch on. It is crazy in the strongman world. And I'm not saying every person has to hire Andrew Clayton. There's a million coaches. But
No,
like,
almost full. So,
but but like it is crazy when you hear, I know Frawley and Dante have heard these too, the horror stories that people put up with from some of the biggest names and just random coaches, like being left on red for 3-4 weeks at a time, not being updated, but still collecting money, copy
yeah,
and paste. Like, it's just people's expectations are so low for
that's
coaches.
it. Is you got to have the expectations outlined.
Yeah.
Like that's what. I don't mean to interrupt you, but this is a great
No,
point.
no.
I hired a mentor. His name is Paul O'Need, and he's been coaching for like 15 years. And I hired him based on a bunch of other friends of mine who are high level coaches that referred me because, like, he helps with the business side and just improving just everything, like all the back end stuff. And one of the first things he had me do is write a terms of service and get expectations, because one of the problems with communication with clients is you don't have the expectations. So a client might expect you to respond in 4 hours, and you never were planning on doing that. You were going to respond in 24. So no matter how good your service is to your expectation, you'll never meet their expectation. So my terms of service outlines the expectations, and I make sure people understand them. And then if there's a conflict, I can refer to that. And if enough people, I don't want to say the word complain, but if enough people brought to attention, hey, this element of your service does not fulfill what I was expecting, then maybe I would adjust it. So I have adjusted some things, but I take off Sundays and I don't reply to messages. And there's occasionally I will, just because I happen to be on my computer, but they know that. So if they're like, hey, Andrew, you didn't reply to me and I messaged you at like 8 p.m. on Saturday, I'm like, well, you're not in business hours. I apologize. How can I help you? And it's never been an issue.
Yep.
Because terms of service said it. So a lot of coaches don't run their business like a business. And I was guilty of this early on, but it is a business. And that means you have to have terms of service and all these other things. And then it's also a business in the fact that your clients are customers. And I know this is lost after COVID. No one wants to work and no one wants to do customer service, but like, customer service sells anything. I am not the best coach. I do not program the best. I don't have the best app. I don't type the best. I don't make the best videos. But I'm going to aim to have my customer service really good. So those coaches that are better than me, that suck at being people pleasers, or like actually helping their customers, they lose their clients because of that. I'm not going to lose my clients because of that.
Yeah. I'm like, I just pulled up, as you were talking, I pulled up like an email, like as an example, like that we have from you. And it's like your whole client list. And like when this is right on par with what we're talking about, because it's when you went to Clash and you laid out in like a lot of words, like it could be an ebook basically, but like how you appreciate us, what day you'll be gone, like exactly how you updated everyone's thing, expectations for while you're at a competition, like, and it's like, I think it goes like just complements what you're talking about. It's like you lay out your expectations. Hey, I may not answer between the 21st and the 27th because I'm still actively competing. I'm going to be on vacation. Everyone's programmed for at least the next 2 weeks. So you guys are all good. This is how to get a hold of me and merch, like all that stuff. So I think just being like,
and if anyone had a problem, I would be willing to fix it. Like, I'm not afraid to be like, hey, you didn't feel like you got that week's worth of programming. How can I make it right? Do I need to refund you the last month? I mean, to me, refunding money, I never question. I've done it numerous times. The client wasn't in the right. I'm going to make it right. Never leave a bad taste in someone's mouth. That's probably like the core thing.
Yeah, 100%. So how many spots are you still taking for people that are listening and want to know? I shit you not. I shouldn't have sworn. My mother-in-law listens to the podcast every week and gets mad when I swear.
I've been cussing too much.
I have 2 DMs right now since we've started recording. Hey, how much does Andrew charge? 2 identical messages from two separate people. Like, so people are obviously still curious about hiring you. How many do you still have? A lot of spots left? Are you trying to be?
So I try to keep a fairly strict roster. Like I'd have to double check. My original cap, I think I had like 3 or 4 spots for training. I have more spots for nutrition. If I can improve my systems, I might open a little bit more clients. But I want it to be more attention to less clients. And when they ask about price, it's a tough question to answer.
Yeah,
I'm gonna cost more because I'm gonna give you more attention, and that's what you don't want to have happen is get more clients and then also be the premium service charger. I know some of the strongman goals is like going to be in a high volume model, providing very cheap coaching. We already have very cheap gyms. I don't remember your membership rate, but I guarantee you it's less than what, 100 a month.
It's less than half that, $40.
Yeah, right. So you can basically do strongman for $40 a month. That's ridiculous.
55 now. 55 now, but
it's still
these guys
are
grandfathered. Right.
It's still too cheap. So unfortunately, people have gotten used to that like really low price point.
Great point.
And so I would say you're going to get your money's worth. That's an all coaching. If you're paying $50 a month, man, don't be surprised it's the same program for 4 weeks in a row. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, but like, don't be surprised.
Well, it's weird. It's weird. Fitness as a whole, for some reason, is like one of the most disrespected professions. Where like as we all can see it from different angles, but like as a gym owner, people come down and just like, hey, like high schoolers think they should get like half off rate. And it's like, dude, I want to charge high schoolers more.
Double.
They understand less and their brains aren't fully developed. And I have to explain shit to them. Like people are so disrespectful. Like they call on the phone and they're like, $55 a month. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, okay, well then this gym, I've told so many people like, well, this gym's not for you. Because we have every single piece of equipment. It's 24/7, 365. And like, but like, it's the same with coaching. People are like, just think it should be free. And like pre-workout, people think it should be like, they should be sponsored because they want a novice show as a, against two people. Like, no offense, but like, I just think fitness as a whole, for some reason, is such a disrespected, like.
Well, think about what you pay to go see like a physical therapist. Like I go to a cash-based physical therapist, and even though he gives me a discount, he essentially is like as expensive in one visit as almost a month of coaching. And like what I do in coaching is a little bit what he does, right? I problem solve, I triage the issue, I either regress or progress to make them, fit, where they're not having pain, and then get them momentum into a training program. I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not doing physical therapy. I'm not diagnosing or anything like that. But like, you can't tell me I'm not doing some of the same things. And to be able, if I charged every hour as if I was him, I would be like 4 or 5 times more costly. And there are coaches that do charge it. There are coaches in bodybuilding that charge thousands of dollars a month because they're doing everything. They're doing your training and your supplements and your diet, thousands of dollars a month, and they're making a ton of adjustments. But yeah, both the gym price and the coaching price is making it very difficult for people to be serious in strongman. Because like I saw that where I lived, and the gym that I used to be at, and we've chatted about it like via text. They go out of business. They basically try to steal. They stole my Stone platform. The previous owner basically came to my house and threatened me and said I would amount to nothing, and I never did anything strongman. Oh, what an idiot! Yeah. Oh man. That's okay, great. I just had to let that off my chest. Yeah.
No, that's good. So I felt that one. That one was deep.
But so these people they're not used to buying into something, so they want $40 gym membership, $40 coaching, and spend $250 on SPD sleeves. Bro. The sleeves aren't the problem. You just suck. Like I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. It's a weird world out there in the fitness stuff. It's crazy because you live in Jacksonville and like obviously you train at home, but like you're in like one of the most populated cities and
12th most populated and biggest in the continental United States by land area. You would think there'd be tons of pro strongmen, and I'm the only one.
Yeah. You think there'd be like a good strongman gym? We should open 580 South down there. You can be the GM. But
580 South.
It's crazy because you talk about like strongman being taken serious and stuff. I was at USAPL Collegiate Powerlifting Nationals this past weekend in Dallas. And it really just reminded me how much bigger powerlifting is than strongman. Like they had 1,200 lifters for collegiate nationals. Collegiate. Man. And these guys guy at our gym, Pork, he competed. He goes to a small like Division II school. They pay for a lot of their stuff. It's like even school funded. It was really, really cool to see all these schools, like big Division I schools all the way down to Division III. They're in like their jumpsuits. The presentation was amazing. And then you like talk about strongman, and you just won arguably you did win the two biggest 105 shows in the world, and you're talking about these minuscule payouts and having to qualify all this stuff. It's just,
I mean, I'm complaining. I mean, I won the most prize money I ever won this past year. And it helped my business. So like, it's just,
yeah,
those things are just comparing it to other years. It was 40% less on pretty much both shows as compared to other years, and then you add inflation, all this, whatever. But yeah, powerlifting is freaking blowing up, man. Because you just need a barbell and apparently kilo plates an ER rack, but
yeah,
you don't need those, and I think that's great. The only problem is we're widening the chart, and we still have more people skewed. I know it's going to be a different angle on the screen, but like to the left. So like same with strongman, like more people than ever theoretically are doing like 105, but the top 5 percentile has not gotten that much better. It's just we have more participation and more access. And so that's what I was talking about with the hype, is just like there's more total participation. It's just now that bell curve is actually shifted to the left of less experienced, less competitive. And people that want to sell you on the shows tell you it's the other way. And I have to disagree because, I mean, just look at the people in the past, man. Go get Zach McCarley and tell me he can't win Clash.
yeah.
Go get Zach McCarley. So,
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I just like, I obviously love strongman. It's just like I have been out of the powerlifting scene for a while, and it opened my eyes to like, holy shit, this gap between the two is insane.
are we going back for the tracksuits? Because I'm down with that.
Dude, the tracksuits were sick.
Do you imagine Strongman has that?
I was like kind of getting hyped because like all these like D1 schools, like the people from Texas were like going horns up, other guys were going horns down. It was pretty sick. Like every big school was there, so it was so cool. But yeah, um, anything else, Frawley, Dante? You guys have anything crazy? I thought that was a great discussion. I mean, we have a ton of questions, but a lot of them I think were answered during the show. And a lot of them are long questions, but Andrew, anything you want to touch on specifically, like while you're on?
Yeah. So I actually had a couple questions. One was, in competition, are you trying to be focused or like fury? So I guess just kind of like amped up. I've talked about other podcasts, but it kind of depends on the event. So the more skill technical, obviously you want to be more focused, and maybe the more like brute strength, you could maybe be a little more aggressive. But I think that's an experience-based one too. Like the more you hone your craft in training, the more you can like ramp up the pace in competition. So Josh, from my programming, there are times I program you guys to go like over 60 seconds, but a slower pace. So maybe you hit 8 reps in like 75 seconds. And then, in the competition, when you reel in that pace and you don't, you're a little more amped up from adrenaline, then you're going to get those 8 reps in a minute. It's going to be close, but you're going to get it. So I think that would answer that question. Obviously, as I've gotten older, I think it's more be calm than be amped up, or be calm until you need to get amped up. So like that stone load was a great example. Be calm until it's time to get amped up and grab the stone.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, how do you balance growing in business and being an athlete? So I think it's more like the coaching side question. I think that's really tough. I don't think any actively competing strongman is ever going to be the best coach ever. But I do think I'm higher than 50 percentile. I think it's having a good schedule and good balance as far as like how you structure your day. If I compete at like world strongest man level, I'm sure my service would go down a little bit because I'd be traveling more and do more rehab work and training. But I'd probably pivot that and having less clients. So I see that as a problem. Is a lot of these athletes, they get so much recognition, they drive their business up and they don't realize they have less time than ever. And then every client kind of suffers getting really quick updates or no updates or being left on red. And then I just wanted to throw something out. I always forget in podcasts, but I trained for Clash pretty much by myself, but I had my training partner John come out to help a lot, and he basically set up like freaking events for me. Like he didn't even train; he just like set things up. So it's a big help to him, just getting things done. And I think it's really cool to have support people around you that believe in you, because like he never thought I wasn't going to lose. Like he never thought I was going to lose. He always thought I was going to win. And like he even told his wife, and like his wife's pregnant. They're going to have a baby like next month. And even his wife's like, yeah, go out and help him, because like he's like the real deal. I'm like, dude, that says a lot when you like he's a client of mine, but like you've only been working with me and known me for like a little over a year. Like you never even saw me compete at a high level. So you're just banking on what I've told you and the action I've shown you. So I'm just like, shoot, man. So again, like when you have people that believe in you, like the worst thing to do is like not follow through. So I mean, you just kind of gotta follow through.
I think it's crazy. Like I know you train alone, but primarily, but like you just mentioned, John. I tell people, and we've talked about it on here a million times. Like I think having like a good training group can make such a world of difference for people, especially in strongman. On those days where you feel like shit and you're like, out like 4 weeks out from a show and you don't want to set, we have to set so much stuff up.
right.
And like the odd object load for the Arnold, for example. I remember how many people do we have helping for that? 9 of us, because we had 3 platforms to load to. So we have a guy per two guys per platform pulling the other implement down. And then of course they change it, at the Arnold, and change all our implements and all our weights, but whatever. That's not here nor there. So yeah.
No, I going on that topic because I do train alone. I train alone a lot because unfortunately not everybody knows how to be a good training partner. So like again, the reason John's a good training partner is like, yeah, he did not train with me while I was getting ready for class, but he has trained with me. And I think like you got to look at ways like how are you going to make this session better for the other person? Are you going to give down calls? Are you going to give start commands? Are you going to run the timer to run the EMOM? Are you going to film the set so I don't have to worry about having my camera set up? So anything that offloads stress. I mean, a lot of times people are training partners and they just want the energy from other people. And at a high level that I'm at, or at least higher than the average person in the gym, if all you want is my energy and you're not giving anything back, then you're literally taking from me. So It sounds really bad, but like you need to give, and that's what makes it easier to train with John. Is like because when he's going, I don't mind coaching as much because like not only does he pay me, but like in person it's not included in online coaching, but it's more likely I'm going to give feedback because I know if I give to him, he's going to give to me, and it's going to create a mutual, it's going to be a mutual benefit.
Yeah,
and that's just lost on people, man. Everybody just wants to train for themselves. It's like if you don't know how to cue people, you better be loading the weights. If you're not strong enough to load their weights, you better be grabbing their phone or running the timer. If you can't do that, maybe strongman's not for you because those are pretty much 3 things that everybody should be able to do. So maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Edit their graphics. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a good point because like I even remember when I started in a gym, when I saw like the biggest guy in there, the strongest guy in there, and I started training with him, I just would load weights. Like, I mean, I was training, but like helping him load his squats. Like, that's a really good point. I think another thing you touched on too is like now that you've been in the sport longer, you try to stay calm. You're more of a calm lifter. Yeah. And it reminds me of like one of the favorite things that anyone's ever said on this pod was when we had Ken McClelland. And he had the pull. He talked about pulling from the well only when you need to, like in training and saving it for competitions. And it just when you talking about it really reminded me of it. And how he approaches, and he has his clients approach big lifts is just having that well full. So when you need to pull from it, you can. You see a lot of people that have been in powerlifting or strongman for a year or 2, and they're hitting nose torque every damn day. Just for a 5x5 deadlift, say, and it's like, how long are you going to be able to sustain that? Right. So I thought that just reminded me of like one of my favorite things ever.
I mean, competition should be so arousing that like, unless your form breaks down because you can't handle like the adrenaline, you should PR or like at least match it. I mean, it's tough being outside because like those things are negatives, and then like the speed of clash or speed of shows. But even with that, you should be able to offset it with that adrenaline. Yes, I agree with that. I agree with don't have people slap you in the back. Don't use nose torque. I probably only use nose torque every other week for deadlifting. And that's just like my bad event. So I kind of like reward myself. And then maybe towards the end, like when I'm peaking and doing those last couple, like 1 set runs for the contest. But yeah, freaking 3 months out, man, I don't even bring my nose torque to the gym. And it's weak as heck according to Johnny. So it probably doesn't even work.
Yeah. I was just scrolling through the questions and I don't know why one caught me so off guard. It says, does he ever get called Andy? And it took me a second to because you're Andrew. I don't know why that caught me so off guard, but that's definitely my favorite question. Does anyone call you Andy?
No.
All right. Well,
I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of that nickname. I mean, I love Toy Story, but
it's so funny because like every single question is serious. And then it just says, "Can I call him Andy?" I don't know why it caught me off guard, but
If you have to ask, you can. You know,
yeah.
I mean, if we don't have that relationship, then if you can't ask me straight up, then no, you
Yeah.
can't.
Well, that's funny. But yeah, man. Anything else you want to touch on?
I'm always bad about giving shout outs to everyone. So, you know, as cocky as I am as an athlete, like I really appreciate all the athletes I get to compete against. I feel like that's something that's like it's hard to be at the top of your class without sounding like you're being disrespectful. But, you know, like I said, guys in my heat were really great. Like I kind of got to talk to Vince. I think he's a great up and comer. I talked to Mark O'Connor. You know, I mean, he freaking tore his bicep and still continued doing the show, which I think is awesome because that's what I do, right? Like I just don't believe in ever having to quit. You know, you just keep doing it. And then obviously, like I've got a lot of help from my coach. So I work with Mike Westerling, and he just keeps my head on straight, and just all my family support. And yeah, it's just it's hard to thank all those people. And it sounds really cocky to be like, probably no matter what, I'm going to make it happen. But like, indefinitely, those people made it much, much easier to bring that dream, you know, to have it happen. And then obviously, thank you guys for having me on the podcast so I can just talk about myself and further inflate my ego and whatever else, validate myself on the internet.
Well, man, you're welcome on anytime. You know that. And Frawley, Dante, anything? Well,
Wrap it up, man.
signing
Ready to
off
go.
with signing off with the best 105 kg to ever do it, Andrew Clayton.
No. I said American. I never said world. I just said American.
I'm saying it.
Well, I don't want to piss off the Europeans, you know.
Well, I just had about 1,000 French people in my DMs claiming to kill me 2 weeks ago because we filmed with Tommy, Andrew, and Ben Logan about Ben Donan's thing. Didn't even say anything negative about Ben, but said like he didn't weigh it. We thought it was weird he wasn't weighing in for any world records, like and doing them in one-off shows, and we just mentioned it. And then everyone from France was threatening me in French in my DMs to kill me.
But did he? But he weighed in, though, right? Like, I mean, you
can't like they posted it after.
Well,
yeah. And that's fine.
Small little thing on that. I have filmed probably every weigh-in I've done, and so it's time stamped. I filmed the weigh-in for Clash 2. And let's just get on that topic for 1 second because you got me started. The weigh-ins, they waited until I got there to weigh in, and you already know why. Because I will call people out. If you get advantage weigh-in, you better believe I'm going to be upset. So I get there, I walk in, I weigh in before our official weigh-in. I'm like 104.1 or something. I'm underweight. I was actually underweight all night. I had eaten like a protein bar and all this other stuff. So I literally take the Pedialyte out, drink it, hop back on the scale, and I'm like, I'm going to do this until it's time to weigh in like 30 minutes. Like I'm going to be exactly 104, 0.9 or whatever, 104.5.
That's funny.
Or 105.0. And then like I go sit down and they're like, yeah, we'll just start weighing in now. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, because I have to be here.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, like no, we weren't saying anything negative. I actually think I said on the pod like Ben Donan is clearly the strongest 80 kilo in the world. Like
absolutely.
Regardless, like he made weight for Clash and he made weight for OSG and he won both. But like we were just saying because he obviously struggled to make weight at the Arnold and did not make weight.
Oh, did he not?
Like broke like 3 world records after he didn't make. So it was a quick mention like, hey, we want strongman to grow. We're being critical. And then people in French are sending me stuff that I have to translate. And I'm like, dude, I literally was complimenting him the whole pod, but it's all good.
Well, did his fake weigh-in happen 24 hours or 72? Whatever. I mean, we should just do away with weigh-ins. We should just come in and we just have to write what weight we thought we were and then put our name down and our opening attempt. Like, oh, I'm identifying as 105 this week and I will open at 200 kilos.
Yeah, it's what it is. That's all I'm gonna say about that for now.
Yeah.
But man, again, we appreciate you coming on and thank you guys. Thank you everyone for listening. And we'll see you guys next week.
See you.
Appreciate it.